everybody.
Hello.
Welcome so much for coming. Thank you so much. I can't. I already can't. I can't. Okay. Okay.
So
See?
discombobulated. So
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming back. If you hear a lot of noise, it's Mocha, my dog, but we'll deal with him if need be. But besides that, we're very, very excited because we have another great guest, Miss Dana Caterina. Hi, Dana. How are you?
hello, everybody. I am good. How are you doing?
I'm good, considering. First
Um,
question is, how are you doing with everything going on in the world?
doing as well as I possibly can be. Trying to stay optimistic and just taking it day by day and not trying to worry too much.
Yeah.
So just yeah, I mean, better than when we were just completely locked down, but you know, now just school's a distraction, hobbies are a distraction.
What are some of
So
the hobbies have you picked up anything?
I kind of always craft and want to try new things. So I've been doing a whole bunch of things since this pandemic started, but I've been sewing, which has been
Oh,
a hobby of mine for a long time, but I've been just sewing a Belle costume because why the hell not?
oh wow.
I'm
Of
like, I'm
course.
like, Comic-Con this year or 2020 was canceled. So I was like, might as well start making something for 2021 if need be. So I've been working on that and just, of course, writing and reading and all that fun stuff. So
Have you mastered the sewing machine?
I have mastered the sewing machine. I had a little trouble when I first got it because there are all these
It's
different settings. Yeah, it's way harder than just like stepping on a pedal and moving fabric through it. There are a lot of different settings, but now I kind of got that going for me. I learned how to sew such a long time ago, so bringing back the sewing machine, I was just like, let's figure this out.
My mom has her sewing machine from when she would sew all the time. And I asked her, like, I had a hole in my pants, and I asked her, I'm like, Mom, can you sew this for me? She goes, You know how to sew? I go, I do not know how to sew. She goes, Let me taught you. Because she taught me
Yeah.
like the hand, like the needle, like the single needle.
Yeah.
But like it's hard.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. And especially too, like at least the sewing machine, you could always do the setting that will just like make the machine do it for you and you just have to make sure everything's in order and everything's in place the way it's supposed to be. But hand sewing is much more than just like going like this, like just making that up and down kind of motion. So it's way harder than
Yeah,
people
and I
think it
have fat
is.
fingers, so that doesn't really work either.
Word. I'm right there with you.
Well,
I
that's
always
good.
feel like I need something. Like I just need a like the thimbles that cover your fingers. I'm like,
Right.
God, I gotta get
But
some of
I've
those.
also been getting really bad carpal tunnel in my hand.
Oh shit.
So,
Can I
but
curse?
when I do my makeup, no, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
When I do my makeup, sometimes my hand just, because I have a brush, my hand just spazzes and it flies across the
Oh
room.
my God, that's crazy.
I know, it's really bad.
I don't think that's
Oh my
carpal
God.
tunnel. I think that's
It's
something
funny you
else.
say, well, not funny you say that because carpal tunnel is not a
It's
fun
hilarious. I think it's
experience.
funny.
But I went to a few doctors over the past, I don't know, 10 months. Um, and they thought I had carpal tunnel, but turns out it was just like my liver was making my joints hurt, all this stuff, but they thought I had carpal tunnel too. But then they were like, "Oh no, we've ruled that out." I was like, "Okay, I'm fine with that." Like
Is your liver okay?
my liver is good now. Apparently, I have sugar intolerance, which I didn't even know was a thing
Like
until they were
natural
like,
sugar?
yeah, well,
That you pick up?
I guess it's like artificial and natural sugar. Like if I intake too much, then my body just shuts down and like all
Oh
these things
God.
start happening. Like,
How sad.
it's crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing. I was like, okay, like I know obviously lactose intolerance and gluten intolerance, but who knew that there was such a thing as sugar intolerance? Because there's sugar in everything. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Are
okay,
you
how do I
like
get
sugar
this?
free now?
No, I have like
Yeah.
a super sweet tooth, so I just manage it.
No, I no, I couldn't imagine. That sounds like
It's
and
super
also a
weird.
form of punishment, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
I thought that we could do some fun icebreakers with you because, when you're in school, they do that and it's so fun.
Oh yeah.
So I have a couple questions and then I have some this or that questions just to get to know you and your preferences on different things. So the first question, which breed of dog best describes you and why?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh man. I want to say a corgi because they're really cute. But I think I love huskies, and I think that they're super rambunctious at times, but they can be really smart. And I feel like that is like a good kind of summary of me. Like
I like
can
that.
be can be, fun and playful, but at the same time is like smart and all knowing.
I love that. What about you, D?
Um, for me, well, I would have thought like German Shepherd because that's what we grew up with. Hard headed, uh, hard to work with, but
Yes.
super protective and lovable. So yeah, probably German Shepherd. I wish I was like a pit bull or something because they're just super sweet and smart. But the hard headed, I can't stray away from that.
No, you can't. I can attest to that. It's very true.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
What about
Next.
you, Kim?
Oh,
Yeah.
How would you
I was
be?
gonna say a corgi because I'm small and chunky. I thought about it. I was like, I don't know.
Corgis are the best though. I love
They
corgis.
really are.
So cute.
They really are. Okay. Second question. If you could have a dime for every time a person said blank about you, what would that statement be? What's something that everybody says that you do or you whatever?
I think it would be that I cry at everything. Like the wind can blow on my face and I'd be like, that's so beautiful. Like, like I just cry at everything. Movies, TV shows, music, everything. And everyone's always like, you gotta stop crying.
I feel like I've been more emotional now as like more sappy now as I've gotten older.
Yeah,
And
a
I'll cry
word.
at like things that you shouldn't cry about.
Yeah, me,
I,
yeah, I'm the same way. It's
I
horrible.
totally agree. That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay. If you woke up one day and was one character from any fantasy slash mythological movie or TV series, who would it be and why? You could only pick one.
Oh my God, this is so hard because I'm such a nerd.
I know. That's why I asked it.
Oh man.
She knows your weak point.
I
Yeah.
know. Seriously. Oh my God. I just started rewatching Game of Thrones, so I'm like, what are good characters from there? But I think, oh my God, this is so hard. So my brain goes to Harry Potter, and my heart goes other places. There's actually this really cool character from Star Wars who nobody knows about, who I would totally love to be. Her name is Mara Jade.
Oh, I know her.
Yeah, she's so cool. She's like this boss ass bitch who just like she was first the hand of the empire or emperor, so she's like from the dark side, but then she turns soft and is like super boss ass
She
bitch,
married
but
Luke,
at the same time like
right? Didn't she marry Luke?
yeah, she marries Luke, which he's probably my least favorite character from the series, but I just like Mara Jade. So probably be her, I think. She's a good one.
Kim, what about you?
Yeah, I have you guys know. I have no comment on this nerd talk.
Yeah,
That's why
it's
Danielle's
so
here.
hard. This question is so hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Who would you pick, D?
Oh my
Since you're-
goodness. See, like, I probably
Witcher?
pick a character that I like. Like, a lot. I have a lot of female characters that I like and also would like. Are definitely the definition of me, but I can't pick one. It's very hard.
It's so hard. And there's also like those like really cool characters like The Witcher.
Yeah.
That's just
They're
and
great.
Yennefer, like who would like It's so hard. The more we open it up, the more I'm like, wow, I would pick 10 other characters too.
Well, I ask because I feel like people who are like really big fans of one fantasy or mythological show or TV show or movie or whatever are also fans of all the other ones.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
In interest. So I asked it because I'd imagine it'd be a very difficult one.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sure it probably would change depending on the day too. So
Absolutely. I'll probably be thinking about this question every single day until the day I'm dead and be like, who would I be?
And an equally as hard question: the best type of potato. Meaning,
I like
French fry, tater tot, mashed potato, sweet potato fry, curly fry, waffle fry. It's a very big debate on the podcast so far.
Oh my god! I thought you were gonna ask me like species of potato, and I was like Yukon Gold, but then
like style or type.
Oh my god! Okay. I think I'm gonna have to go with. I mean, I love me some waffle fries.
Thank you.
I love waffle fries, but a regular French fry, you can dress it up so much more than you could a regular waffle fry. Because waffle fries, I feel like always have this distinct flavor that you can't really change too much. But like a regular French fry, you can make it like the black truffle French fry with like a little bit of cheese on it, or you can just douse it with nacho cheese. You can dress it up so much. Also, I'm just a sucker for French fries.
Me too. Do you eat too much French fries and then your stomach hurts? You get that weird pain?
Yeah, I do. But it's so good.
It's winter time, so it's French fry time. That's
absolutely. I'm right there with you. Right there with. I just got over easy yesterday, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna sub that salad for French fries.
Sure. $2 extra? Okay, and
yeah.
Yes, I know because I get it every time. I'm very much aware.
Yeah, give me the French fry.
Danielle said the tater tot.
Okay, I get that. Tater tots are really good.
Yeah.
But I
put them in your pocket.
I feel like you can mess them up though. Like you have to get them perfect.
Yeah, because they can either be too mushy. I like the crunch on the outside and like the softness on the inside. That's like the perfect tater tot.
Right. Agreed. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said
also a really good question.
Thank you.
Because like so many people have so many different potato
preferences. Yeah, it's been a very hot debate between the two of us, so I figured I'd ask.
Yeah. Did you ask that question to Paige?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
I should have.
I was curious if that should be like your themed question.
Yeah.
Like everybody has to answer it.
Yeah.
For the first season of the podcast.
It is. Yeah.
Season 1 theme question is what type of French fry or potato product do you like?
Or like mashed potatoes can also be and baked potatoes.
They're so good. Yeah.
All right. Don't get ahead of yourself. Stay on track.
Now we're moving on to quick fire this or that questions. So I'm going to give you two options. You have to pick one or the other. There's not a lot, but Cheez-Its or Goldfish?
Goldfish.
Barbecue or sour cream and onion?
I was very oh my god. Barbecue.
Nacho cheese or Cool Ranch?
Nacho cheese.
Crunchy Cheetos or puffy Cheetos?
Crunchy Cheetos.
Okay. Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Oh, neither. Tobey Maguire, because we grew up with Tobey Maguire.
Wonder Woman or Harley Quinn?
Oh shoot.
Can't you tell that was specific?
Yeah, that's very specific. Oh my god, Harley Quinn, because the new Wonder Woman movie had really disappointed.
Okay. I have a story. Chris Pratt or Chris Hemsworth?
No.
Chris Hemsworth, because I'm dating Chris Pratt. So we're gonna go with Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Evans or Chris Pine?
What was the first one?
Chris Evans or Chris Pine?
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans or Chris Hemsworth?
I'm like going through their whole filmography in my head. Oh my god. Let's go with Hemsworth.
congratulations, you figured out which one's your favorite Chris from this. If anything else comes from this, you found out which one was your favorite
I have
Chris.
to go tell the Chris Evans poster in my room that I picked Chris Hemsworth.
I picked Chris Hemsworth too, because
so awesome.
Listen, Chris, I'm with you with like the Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, but
Yeah.
I think the edge is that he's Australian.
Definitely. Like I had, those like cologne commercials that he does. I was like having those like the accent in my head. I was like, yeah, I want that.
Yeah, like that gives him the edge. If you're Australian, you're already hot.
You're already ahead of the game.
Absolutely. Also, he's just like hilarious as Thor.
Yeah.
Like Chris Evans had his moments in those movies, but Chris Hemsworth definitely carried.
I agree.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, I agree. Wonder Woman, the movie. Just a little tangent before we get into like some serious stuff. Danielle came home, so she was home, and we watched it here like after New Year's with my mom. And you know the opening scene where it's like little baby Diana and she's doing like all of like the gladiator.
Yeah.
And it's all the Amazon women in the audience and all that stuff. Our mother goes,
"Oh no.
Are they just on an island of lesbians?"
Oh my god, my dad said the same thing. We got out of the movie and my dad was like, "Are those just like," oh no, he was saying something like, "Oh, like there's Diana who's like in love with this guy, but she came from an island of lesbians. How could she be in love with a man?" I was like, "Dad, hello." Oh my god.
Oh, there she is.
She is.
Yep.
Yeah, we can see.
Was I the only one that left?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. But did all that stuff save D?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, good. I got nervous. Like, oh shit.
Technology's great when it works.
So, well, it's snowing. I think because it's snowing.
Oh my god, yeah. It was like hardcore hailing too. Like I was like, oh my god, I think we're in the end game now. It was like, really? This is crazy.
So your dad thought they were a bunch of lesbians too?
Yeah, which is hilarious that your mom thought the same thing.
She's like, no, because they're all women, so like they have to be lesbians. I'm like, they don't have to be lesbians.
Oh my god, that's so funny. It's the same logic.
It's a generation thing.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
so
well, speaking of all of that fun mythological superhero fantasy stuff, what was the first thing you watched that got you into all of that stuff?
Man, it had to have been the X-Men series. Because my brother, we had this GameCube X-Men game. And it was kind of like a Mortal Kombat, but with the X-Men characters and like the sceneries and stuff like that. And we used to always play that, but we used to fight over Storm because she was so cool. So that just translated into the movies. And was it Halle Berry who was? No, I don't think it was Halle Berry who was. There goes Kim. Oh, there she is. I don't think it was Halle. I can't remember who played Storm in the movies, but it was definitely X-Men that got me into it. And like all these people, this group of people who have these different powers, and there are mutants and stuff like that. Also, Hugh Jackman. Hello.
Right.
And yeah, so it had to have been that, and that just kind of opened my world. And also the Spider-Man movies came out too, because my dad brought home a Spider-Man comic book when I was little. And then that sparked like, oh, I want to see it in a movie. And then Tobey Maguire came out. But not superhero related. Harry Potter was like the first thing I've ever watched that really introduced me to like fantasy and fiction and stuff like that. Like, of course, I grew up with Disney.
My cat's eating bad.
It's so funny. I was like, what is over there? But yeah, so like I was obviously like super into Disney when I was a kid and like grew up with that whole thing. But Harry Potter, I saw the first Harry Potter movie when I was 2. And I actually like
remember watching it.
I remember certain parts, yeah. And like feeling like I remember like like when Harry gets his wand and like everything's like, oh, and like everything's bright and he gets his wand and stuff like that. Like I remember being like, oh wow, that's so cool. And we had like Harry Potter bean bags. My brother was a huge Harry Potter fanatic, and then that just completely converted me over pretty easily.
Did you, because you mentioned reading comic books, were those like the first book, like types of books you started reading and then transitioned into like other forms of literature?
My parents used to read like picture books when I was a kid, and it used to be like Shel Silverstein, which probably was the inspiration for like poetry and stuff for me a few years back, a couple years ago. Um, but yeah, I think it was pretty much picture books, but then yeah, then it was comic books, and that totally opened a whole new world up and was like, oh my God, what is this kind of reading? Like, it's very short dialogue with these awesome pictures, and it's telling this incredible story about a superhero or some sort of fictional badass.
Do you have a favorite comic book or series?
Ooh, I don't know. I kind of read all over the place. There was a few years ago, Batman and Catwoman got married, and just the artistry of that series was really incredible. And the way that they took the character development of both those characters, that obviously we know like Catwoman is the villain and Batman is the good guy, and they fight with each other all the time. But to see like their character development completely change, and then them kind of fall for each other, and then the actual artwork too is just really great. So that one is definitely on the top of the list, but Spider-Man would always have a good place in my heart too, because that was the first comic book I've ever read.
Fair enough. Because I, the whole, for lack of a better term, nerd world that the both of you sit in is very intense from an outside, like an outsider like me,
Yeah.
because people who are dedicated to the extreme. So my first question is, because you've been to how many Comic Cons now?
Probably like 6, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, that
A
sounds
lot.
about right.
Um, because this, I wrote a paper about Wonder Woman and her crazy fans, like of the
Oh yeah.
character in general, not necessarily like the recent movies and stuff, but this type of environment, I'm very curious about, because how, when you going to Comic Con, just in general, just
Yeah.
specifically, how intense is it? How crazy is it? How much do you plan for cosplaying? Because I know you're very big into that. Like, first question, when you think of a character that you want to dress up as,
Yeah.
what are your first initial thoughts? How do you start organizing all of that?
I start thinking about like the costume itself and how it's portrayed, I guess, in the media. Like if it's in a movie, or like let's take for example the Wonder Woman in the first movie, she has that like gorgeous blue dress with the sword in her back. That is a cosplay that I will forever want to do, just because it's so different. You know, you think of Wonder Woman and you think of, okay, that kind of corset that she wears and the skirt and has these crazy clunky boots, and you think like, oh, that's Wonder Woman. But to see them in a different way is just so interesting to me. So I try to look at those kind of characters, and also the characters who I have like a pure fascination in. So like, I don't know, how old are we? When
Well,
was the last Comic Con I dressed up as Harley Quinn? I
I
think
was
our
gonna say
senior
you're
year of high
Harley Quinn,
school. Yeah, so
because
senior
that
year, like,
that year everybody dressed up as Harley Quinn.
yeah. So my thought with that was I want to be different. Now, I'm not really that kind of person that likes to stand out in the crowd, but when it comes to the nerd world, I'm like, I want to do something different, because if even today, like without Suicide Squad coming out or the new one coming out soon, if you walked into a Comic-Con, children, men, women, everything in between are dressed up like Harley Quinn. And then their significant other is Joker or Riddler or Penguin or something like, or someone like that. Um, But while everyone was dressed up in like those short shorts and the 3/4 sleeve top, I was like, I want to dress up as her when she was in the insane asylum, and like with her orange jumpsuit and the coffee cup, and that's what I did.
Yeah, it
So
looks
I
dope.
think, thank you. I walked around the city that day in slippers, and then it started pouring, and they were like Tempur-Pedic slippers, and so all the rain just like slurped its way into my slipper. It was very uncomfortable, but you do it for the Comic Cons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I try to look into characters who I have like a pure fascination with, whether that's like psychology based or just the look of them. Like some characters, like Anastasia, from Anastasia, her Once Upon a December dress is something I've also always wanted to do. I have made it once. I'm gonna try to make it again, I think, in a couple months, but it's just like the glamour of it. You can do so much with it, and I think that's what also is amazing about cosplay is like you don't just have to duplicate somebody else, you can make it your own too, which is
Yeah,
like
because
so fun.
I feel like, especially when Harley Quinn was coming out, that everybody was doing it, and I think
Yeah,
that there is kind of what's the word? It's like I agree with you where you want to do your own thing. I appreciate people who, and there's nothing wrong with people being the same character, but like
right.
genuinely picking characters or ideas that they want to do and that are different.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
so going there, the first time, what year was the first time you went to a Comic Con?
2013, I want to say, was the first time I went to New York Comic Con. So I had gone to, I think in 2012, had gone to the Asbury Park Comic Con that they used to hold.
Hmm.
But the first huge convention I've ever gone to was in 2013, I think it was.
And talk about the experience. Just like being there, being around people. Did you like talk to other people? Did people just come up to you, be like, start
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah. So that's, I think, what the awesome part about Comic Con is, well, first of all, to answer the first part of the question, it was like empty compared to now. I'm so glad that they canceled 2020 because Comic Con has become so popular where people just pack in like sardines. I worked last year's Comic Con, so 2019. I was actually working at the convention for a website I work for. They sent me there on a press pass, and
Yeah, Pottermore, that little website.
it's MuggleNet, but yeah, it's like the
MuggleNet.
same.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
same thing. um, but yeah, so they sent me there and it was really cool. It was really interesting seeing it from like a press pass view. Because when you're there as I guess a consumer, if you want to say, or like a
Yeah.
visitor, if you want to say, um, then it's like a totally different viewpoint. You're like, oh, let me stroll through and let me see all these people, and you do take like pictures with people who look incredible, because it's like a really fun experience for the person on the other end who spent so much time and so much money on their cosplay, where you're like, oh my god, it looks so cool, like let's treat this person as a celebrity. And sometimes there are celebrities there. um but back in 2013, it was empty. It was in the Javits Center still,
Hmm.
but there were maybe, I mean, I couldn't even estimate how many people there were, but I went with Catherine and we would just, walk through, stroll through. It wasn't really like that big of a deal. It was cool being there because you're with people who are just like you. So you're like in this community, you're under the same roof as people who go on these forums and are like, let's talk about the new Star Wars movie or something. Um, so that's always really cool. But it was completely empty compared to recent years.
Do you
Um,
think like the genuineness among the community has decreased because of the popularity behind
I think
Comic
so.
Con? Because I imagine now that because a lot of more and more names of people are getting onto these projects, people are just going to meet them, right?
Right, yeah, of course. And that's definitely, there definitely is a loss of genuineness there, I think. Like back like thinking about 2013, it was like such a sweet, wholesome experience, but in recent years it's been like you think like a New Yorker, like, okay, don't look at anybody, just look where you want to go. You're on autopilot kind of thing. Um, but there definitely is that loss there. It was actually really nice though, because when you're in, I guess, like a meeting room where you'll have people on a panel. Like last year, I went to the Disney Princess panel because why would I? And there was everybody in that room just loves the same thing that you love. There was this guy sitting next to me who I mean, I was there just by myself, but there was this guy next to me who was crying when he saw Paige O'Hara. I was like, there are so many different fans here in the same room loving these people who have grown, like they've grown up with these people and they have looked up to these people. And like, you wouldn't think of who these fans are until you're actually there. Like this guy had to have been like, I don't know, maybe like early to mid 30s, like really just by himself. You would think that he was there taking pictures for somebody else. Like he was in this rock star t-shirt, ripped jeans, all this stuff. And then Paige O'Hara comes on the stage, who played Belle, and he just starts crying. I was like, that's so sweet. It's like,
I feel like with like Disney princesses, well, a specific group of like 90s Disney princesses and like Star Wars and stuff, there's a sense of nostalgia
definitely
that happens, and like you go back to like your little kid self, and it's very like a subconscious thing where you like ultimately start crying.
And it's so overwhelming. It's really just an incredible. I'm getting like chills now just thinking about it. Like the true nerd I am. But
just as an introvert, I just couldn't.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe if I worked there, like how you worked, because it was a different experience for you. But I'm sure the more was it like the more you've gone, the more you learned how to navigate through.
Yeah, definitely. And there is a certain way, like there are different rooms for everything. There's Artist's Alley, which is filled with people who are just so incredibly talented, who are making these prints, like how Paige does. Like she makes these prints and sells them to people. Like Artist's Alley.
She made a logo.
I saw that. It's so cute. I love
it. That was her.
So funny. Like I love it though. It came out so good. I love it. But yeah, so Artist Alley is filled with people like Paige who are like extremely talented and who go and sell their work and people just eat it up. I have all the posters in my room are all from Artist Alley because it's like the fact of supporting the artist and also just they make incredible stuff. Like the Chris Evans poster I have is just him as Captain America drawn and it says that's America's ass. And it's just it's iconic. It's so good. I freaked out when I saw it. I was like, I need it. I don't care how much it is. I need it. But yeah, there's definitely they can give you a map, but there's definitely a way. It's like swimming with the crowd. It's like you go in and out and flow into different rooms and stuff like that. It's definitely an experience just navigating in itself.
Very intimidating one from this.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny because last year I had to wait for somebody outside. We were going to a cursed child panel for the Harry Potter play, and I had to write an article about it. And my brother was there and my mom was there. Just they were gonna go to Hudson Yards, and they're just looking down at all these people and around at all these people who are dressed up, and they're like, "How do you do this?" They're like, "There are so many people. Everybody's dressed up differently. Like, how do you do this?" I'm like, it's my world. It's like, it's so lovely, isn't it? But yeah, it definitely can be intimidating. But it's exciting. Like once you get the hang of it, it only takes a little bit to really like see things and just go with it. But it's really fun. It's really different.
What's your favorite cosplay you've done?
My favorite cosplay I've done.
Because you've been like cosplaying for a really long time. I mean, since high school for work. Because Dana
Yeah,
used,
yeah.
I don't know if you still do, but Dana would do the whole Disney princess party
Yeah, and I would dress
stuff.
up like princesses and go to parties and stuff, which is super fun. I have so many costumes in my closet. I have to relocate them. But um, my favorite cosplay, well, it wasn't really a cosplay. My Halloween costume this year was like my favorite. I was Maleficent this year for
Maleficent.
Halloween.
I really like that
Um,
one.
Thank you. Yeah, that one was a lot of fun. And since obviously we couldn't go anywhere, I was like, you know what? This is the first year I'm going to do like a photo shoot. It wasn't much of a photo shoot. It was like my camera on a tripod and my light.
It looks
um,
great.
but Comic-Con cosplay, I really loved. I loved the Harley Quinn one that I did. That one was fun because I actually, a lot of people took pictures with me, like would ask me like, oh, can I take a picture with you? That was a fun experience. Um, But favorite cosplay, I was Queenie from the Fantastic Beasts
Mhm.
series. And that one was just fun because she's so bubbly. And that's the first year I put on like a wig and I had a wand and I had all these like different things. That was fun. Um, yeah, I think that would probably be my favorite one. It was definitely the most stressful one because of the wig. I was like, am I going to be itchy? Am I going to be like, are bobby pins just going to fly out of my hair? So that'd be the problem with like the princess parties. It's like sometimes like your wig would come up even the slightest bit, and that would be a problem because obviously, especially if I was like Cinderella, that's blonde hair against my hair. At the time when I was doing that, my hair was probably purple. So it's like Cinderella has purple hair. And like bobby pins would just come flying out of the wig, and it was just like craziness.
When did you start getting working as a Disney princess? Because again, I feel like that's an avenue to which I could not do for a lot of reasons. But just start by talking about how you got that job, how long that you did it
I
for.
was 15 when I got the job, but almost 16. So that's why I got the job. I was like so close there. like, oh, you can't get it because you're underage technically, but I was pretty close to 16, so we worked with it anyway. But I did that. I started that when I was 15. My first character I dressed up as was Anna, which was a huge thing for me because that's one of my favorite Disney princesses. Um, Also interesting because it was the first time I put in contacts because Anna has green eyes, way different than my brown eyes. So we would have to pop in the contacts. The braids had to be a very specific way because the streak that she has. But that was very fun. Um, but yeah, so I started that when I was 15 and stopped kind of like I don't know, a couple of years ago. I still technically work for them, but I haven't actually done a gig in like a couple of years. But like I know I still talk to them and stuff like that. But probably like 2018, 19, I like stopped doing parties.
Yeah, parties, I feel like they are like a giant level again of stress
Yeah. It's
because,
a lot goes into it.
well, as somebody who works with kids, there are times when I just want to scream at them.
Yeah.
And you can't, and obviously when you're in a character and a bubbly, friendly character like a Disney
Yeah.
princess, that can be very difficult to to navigate through. So talk about just experience working with kids as a Disney princess character.
Yeah, it's definitely a totally different experience, especially when they want to rip the wig off of your head. Because there are some kids who really are like, you're not real, especially as Rapunzel. Rapunzel was my favorite character to play because I had a little bit more um, of Rapunzel. I mean, Rapunzel and Anna are pretty similar. Those are my two main characters. Um, I have their personality traits and stuff. So it was easy to navigate that way. But especially as Rapunzel, kids would just come up to you and want, like, the hair is to their level. So, like, they could easily just grab it like this and just rip it off of your head. And that was like navigating that in this, like, really high pitched voice and, like, being like, no, can you please stop? Like, you have to say that in the nicest way possible. And, like, in character, it definitely is hard. We used to go to diners too, that was a little bit, diners were like a love-hate relationship because you get to have a little bit more like time to yourself because you're just walking around and visiting tables. But after like 80 laps, that can get a little like, okay, I saw this person already and boring. Yeah. But it was always nice because you get to spend like some time with the kids, take a picture. And they would always draw you pictures too because they would always get like the mats. So I have like a whole album full of pictures that kids have drawn me. And it's very cute. I love working with kids. And that's just like, that was the heartwarming thing. And like, you had to learn their signatures too at points. So you can just be like, oh, here, let me sign this for you on your play mat. And they would like cherish it and be like, oh my God, Rapunzel gave this to me. Like, it was very cute. It was very sweet. Um, the main question I would always get is, where did you come from? That was always a hard one to navigate too, because then they
Yeah,
wouldn't
because
like
aren't there
believe
certain
you.
ways you have to answer? Like you can't say
Yeah.
no to things.
Yeah, so it's definitely like yeah, navigating those questions are hard. Like if you say like some kids are like, "Oh, did you come?" Oh, no, wait. The best question was if you were Rapunzel or Anna, it would be like, "Oh, where's Kristoff? Oh, where's Olaf? Where's Pascal? You always bring Pascal with you." I'm like, all right, here we go. Story time. Sit down, kids. And I would make up this whole long story, just like ad-libbing it, just being like, oh, well, Olaf is babysitting Kristoff and Sven because they can't watch the castle themselves. I came from Disney World and all this stuff. Like you just create these elaborate stories to make them believe you as much as possible. Which is
Or
always
bore
great.
them. That's what I
Exactly. Yeah.
bore them
Exactly.
to
Yeah. Just
death.
talk about taxes, and then they'll be like, okay, bye.
Component of the
Yeah, you
job
could
is
never. We never really had like a specific rule about, oh, you can't say no, but at the same time, no is like we know that it's such a like a strong word, and it
well,
kind of
it's
can
like
like feel
improv.
defeated. That they can like the kids could like feel defeated if you're just like, oh no, like that's not how that
It's
works. And
like
something like,
improv, right? It's how
yeah,
improv classes work, where you do different exercises and it's the
yeah.
yes exercise. You
Yeah,
remember.
like the yes and like the
And you
whole
add on to it so you don't
yeah,
let it die essentially
that's
because then
exactly how it is. You really have to work on your feet on that job. It's like making sure everything is in line and everybody has their things. And on the opposite side too, I would host gigs too. So for mascot characters who can't talk, I would have to talk for them, and be like, "Oh, Chase from Paw Patrol um, wants you to dance, and we're gonna play or we're gonna do the YMCA dance and stuff like that." So mascot parties were easy to navigate because it was only half an hour and it would go by so quickly. But you would have to map everything out beforehand. So it was like, okay, so for the first 5 minutes, we'll do, oh, hellos, all this stuff. Then the next 10 minutes, we'll do pictures, and then we'll do a few dancing games, and then we'll do cake and we'll go. But that's me for 30 minutes, completely navigating both the kids, the mascot, and the parents. Like everybody in the room is listening to
are
me, and then
parents like drunk all the time. That would be me.
there were some parties where there were really drunk parents.
Yeah.
And there was one party where I got a I was hosting a Moana gig, and it was maybe 20 degrees outside. So I told Moana, I said, "Okay, go in the car. I'll heat up the car." I had a flat tire. So I had to go inside, and the parents are like, "I can't operate a car right now." Oh no, my car died. So that's what they were like, "I can't operate a car right now." Like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't have to drive the car. My car is right behind yours. Can we just, do the whole battery thing?
Jump
Let's make
in.
this, let's make it work again. He was like, "I can't do that. What do you think I am?" I was like, okay. I was like, whatever. But yeah, it's like crazy. Um, there is one house that we did pretty often. Like they always had parties with us. Um, I think they were Russian, and they were so kind and so amazing, but very like out there and very very fun to be around. Um, and they would always just make the experience so funny. And like I think one time I was playing Belle at that party. It was either Belle or Cinderella, and they're like, "Sit down, just sit down over there. We'll have them come to you." I was like, "No, but we have to go do." They're like, "No, no, no. no. We'll do that. I was like, okay. I'm just gonna sit. I was gonna sit. They were so awesome to work with. They always had us over their house. It was so nice.
Um, is a prerequisite to that type of job is knowing the background and history of whatever character you're playing, specifically like Disney princess characters.
Yeah, so you should have like some understanding of it, but there are always new characters. Like when Elena of Avalor came out, it was like, okay, we're gonna just study this character and see how she works and see how she is. That prerequisite was to be able to play the guitar
Oh,
for Elena, because she in the show is like plays her guitar and she speaks Spanish. So we only have like two people who are friends with or play Elena because they speak Spanish or play the guitar. Because that's a huge thing. When I was Sophia the first, I knew nothing about Sophia the first. So I watched like the first season of that show by myself, like as a 20-year-old, being like, okay, like let's watch Sophia the first. And thank God I did, because I remember the kiddo, and I was like reading the Wikipedia page, like Disney.com, like all that stuff. I remember the kid, one of the kiddos was like, "Oh, where are these 5 characters?" And I was like, "Think, Dana, think." I was like, "Who are these characters?" "Oh, that's the rabbit and the horse and the whoever. That's the brother and that's the sister." And because Sophia has like a weird, not a weird background, but like she was a village girl who was adopted by the royals. And so she's trying to like work her way in the castle and learn magic and stuff like that. So I had to know her whole family tree. I had to know all the characters she had, her pets, her not pets, like all the animals in the garden. That was a tough one because I was like going into it completely blind. So I guess yeah, you should know at least the background for the main princesses.
Mhm.
But luckily enough, like all the princesses, those are the movies that we all grew up with. But then of course you have like the Disney characters who are like Sophia and Elena. Like I don't know
Right.
anything about those
I
people.
like the interest of princesses have shifted like to modern ones, obviously, depending
Yeah,
on whatever comes out. So, um,
definitely. Yeah, when I started babysitting Charlotte, the kiddo I watched for the last 3.5 years, um, I got her into Sophia, and she loves it now. And now we talk about it as if like we know her personally, because like she knows so much about Sophia, and I know so much about Sophia now. Like in my memory bank, I'm like, oh yeah, that rabbit. Oh yeah, I love him. Like very casually.
um, do you remember the Disney Pixar bracket? Which one was your winner?
I
Just
think,
relevant to mine
I
was
think it was.
Ratatouille.
Of course it was. Such a good movie. How about Ratatouille the musical?
Oh my god, I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
Iconic. Um, I think mine was either Monsters Inc. or Coco, I want to say. Um, which makes sense.
Does make sense. Those are
Coco,
great movies.
yeah, Coco is such a phenomenal. I have a 6 month hiatus from Coco every time I watch it. I can only watch it once every
Cry.
6 months because it's really emotional. It's really emotionally disturbing, and it's. I think it's just because like there is so many factors of that movie that hit home, and the fact that like even if they don't hit home for people, it's still so emotional. I'm just like, yeah, we're gonna need to take a 6 month break from
Well,
that.
I feel like especially Pixar, well, I don't know, but they're really tuning in on these like real life adult
Yeah,
topics and discussions for these kids to watch. But I also said that
definitely.
because a lot of like the people who are genuine fans of Disney and Pixar are also older people because they grow up with it. They're making
Yeah.
it the movies more invested for I think more for the adult fans, to be honest. Do you
Yeah,
agree with
that's what they were saying about Soul, the new Pixar movie. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the new movie they were just saying, yeah, we wanted to make this for adults and for kids, but this is a topic that I think adults really need to hear. Like
that?
that you still have like people who dream big and feel like, oh, I can't attain that, or dream big and say, that's not my purpose in life. That's like, they just wanted to make sure that people knew there was so much more to you than you think. Which is just, oh, that movie was so good too.
We didn't watch it. We were supposed to.
It's so good.
Wait,
Oh, I
which
didn't know
movie did
that
you
was
watch?
on the bracket or on the docket
It
when I was
was when
home.
you were home.
I don't
Wonder Woman
remember.
and Soul.
Soul is really good. And if you have the Disney Plus platform, they added this new feature. I think it's so cool. I don't know why, but you can like create a group of up to six people and stream the movie at the same time on different platforms. It's
They do that with like Netflix and stuff too, right?
Yeah, and that's I was like, oh, what is this? Like, whatever. And I tried it the other day. I watched WandaVision through that platform, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I don't know why it's so cool to me. I feel like a little nerd, like, wow, or like an adult, like being like really invested in the little things. But
I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's
really
a good movie.
Feature in this time, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Especially for like new movies like Soul that were supposed to come out in theaters and you were supposed to experience it with other people.
Did you watch Wonder Woman in theaters?
Yeah, we ended up
How was
renting out. We ended up renting out the like an auditorium, my family and I, and we all went. It was really nice. I've been a part of the movie club thing for a while, so I kept getting these messages just like, "Hey, we're open if you want to come." They're not charging me because of COVID, which is nice. So they just keep giving me like rewards, and they're just like, take this $10 off and take this, like, just please come to our theater. So we ended up just going to rent out the theater or rent out the auditorium, and seeing it. It was weird because there was nobody else in there except for us. Like, we could talk, we could like answer a phone call if we wanted to, or like answer a text or something. But it was really cool. Like, it was an enjoyable experience because of that, I think, like the intimacy of it, and you get to see this action-packed movie on the screen, and they make sure everything is sanitized. Like, their sanitizing cart is like twice the size as like the janitors from high school. Like those like those like sanitizing trolleys. Like they had one with huge, and they were just like this huge bottle of like disinfectant, and they just made sure that everybody was safe, which was nice. But yeah,
and they're putting Chick-fil-A next to it, so
I know it's gonna be so crazy.
Which, side note, I don't know why they put it on that side instead of putting it in the back, but whatever.
I don't know. It's gonna be so busy over there, and in my development now, because they're opening up the Chick-fil-A, and then they're thinking about putting a Costco gas station where the Bertucci's is. So we're like, we're screwed. Like, hopefully at that point when all this is done, like, we'll be okay here and just like not need to go anywhere.
The new drive-through Starbucks and the traffic, we've gone, and the traffic's already been like crazy.
It's crazy. That line is always so long. We went, Keith and I went once at like a good hour, I guess, like their off hour. And it was I mean, it was cool.
But the whole traffic design just for the drive-through is a mess. But
it totally is. And now they put that Wonderland smoke shop right next to it.
Yeah.
Which I was like, whose idea was that? Like, not only do the two not really work hand in hand, but the traffic pattern is like so strange.
It's awful.
So weird.
Anyways, moving off from that.
Yeah, moving off of traffic patterns.
Moving off of traffic patterns. So interesting. Well, to be honest, I've been very invested in traffic patterns because they changed the one here at Target too, and I refuse to go on it.
Talk about it.
Refuse.
I'm ready to write a letter. I'm ready to be like with my chalk and paint, like change the traffic pattern. It is so inconvenient.
I don't go on it anymore.
I
feel
live
like over here.
So for me, since I've been to multiple different states, I feel like New Jersey just makes traffic difficult for no reason.
Like, literally, no reason at all.
I mean, we got U-turns, which are jug handles.
Yeah. It's so bad. It's so
bad. I've been on my traffic pattern game. and it's
I
all
get
been
that.
pissing me off.
I get that. The jug handle by my house to go straight into my house off of 35. Um, I'm ready to put paint there too, make it 2 lanes, because so many people clog up that jug handle because they don't realize it's supposed to be 2 lanes. Like the leftmost part of that jug handle, you're supposed to go into the left lane, and the right one, the right lane. People just don't get it. But adulting, we love traffic patterns.
Yeah, right. What a riveting conversation. So you mentioned working with MuggleNet, and you've been working with them for a long time, a couple years now.
Yeah.
Talk about, is it an internship? Is it a job? Talk about getting it, your first job or thing you were assigned. Just talk about the whole experience.
All right. So I found out about it through because I've been a follower of theirs forever. The website started in 1999.
What is the website for people who don't know?
It's mugglenet.com. It is an all Harry Potter Wizarding World resource. We do news, we have like quizzes on there. It's like just where you go for all things Wizarding World. We have Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and TikTok now is our new adventure. Pinterest we have, which we're trying to build up. But I found out about an internship through Instagram. And I was like, yeah, okay, I might as well do it. Like I could just put an internship on my resume, like whatever it was. It was for social media promotion, I think, which I have no intentions of going into social media promotion, but I was like, I want to work for this site, so let's do it. And I was on the Instagram team, and maybe I started December 2018, I want to say, was when my internship was given to me. And then I guess 6 months go by, maybe a little bit longer, maybe 8 months. I get offered a full-time position. It's all volunteer work, but there are opportunities to get paid. But yeah, just social media promotion for Instagram. And then recently in September, I got promoted to assistant manager of social media engagement. So now I oversee, now I oversee all social media except for TikTok.
Damn.
That's it. I don't oversee
I
TikTok.
love TikTok.
I know. I love TikTok too. I've been a part of a couple of the MuggleNet TikToks, but not like invested in, okay, let's actually post here. I think we only have one person who posts and does everything for TikTok. And then we'll ask like, oh, can we have 10 people to do a message or something? But yeah, so I oversee, who posts to Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And yeah, so that's I've written a couple of, actually maybe a handful of articles. I did the Comic-Con for 2019. That I did a few like overview articles, and then the one for Cursed Child, and I think I did one for another one. There was like a Percy Jackson panel that was talking about storytelling and how fantasy storytelling works. I did a couple of articles for reviews. When you get promoted, they give you a review opportunity. They'll send you something for free. Like a company who makes Wizarding World stuff will send you something for free for you to review. And that happens when you get promoted. So I think when I got offered the full-time position, I got a board game. I got a board game. Yeah, it's such a cool board game. I haven't played it in a while, but I got that. And then my second promotion, I got a Christmas set. It was like a little shop, like a Harry Potter shop that is covered in snow, and it lights up, and it has like Harry, Hermione, and Ron. That's really cute.
Are those like those little like Christmas town?
Yeah, exactly. And the company makes a bunch of them, but they just sent me like the joke shop, and I was like, cool, I wanted this one anyway.
I love those things so
They're
much.
so cute. I know. And the lighting is just like, when you turn it on, it just feels so Christmassy. And I'm like, I wish I could have this around year round. And then my third promotion, I got a pin from wizardingworld.com. which is, you know, the main Harry Potter website. They sent me a pin from their, they do like this new collection, I guess, and you just have to you pay annually to be a part of this membership, but then you can like pay for smaller things like pins and stuff like that. They sent me one of those, so I had to review that on Instagram. Actually, I had to do a live for the first time. I had like 1,500 people watching me, and I was like, I don't know what to say. I was like, I don't do this. I just am behind the screen typing your messages. I've never done a live before, so that was pretty interesting. And yeah, so written a handful of articles. I also went to
your favorite doing the articles, because I mean you love writing.
Yeah, I love writing, but something about like, I think it's just so stressful because I've been on the social media platform for so long, just typing like a small paragraph and be like, click the link in our bio, like stuff like that. So when writing a full article, there are so many things you have to make sure you do. So I guess like if you're doing that more, and I guess like, you know, if you write 200 and 500, I think it's 250 to 500 words. Like if you do that, like I'm used to that because of school, you know, like they say, oh, write 500 words about XYZ. But for some reason, this is just so stressful. It's like you have to do 5 pictures at this specific format in this specific saved document. And it's just, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong. I usually do because I'm not used to it, but it's usually like how many pixels the picture is. Like I always get that wrong. I'm like, how do I even, like I love photography and like filmography and I understand pixels, but like how do I change that? Like if they're like, oh, change it to 2020 pixels or something. I'm like, okay, can you just do it? Like I don't know how to. Can you do it for me? Thanks.
Would you consider yourself a perfectionist then?
Absolutely. I'm a perfectionist at everything. It's bad. It's not good. It's not good.
So I have a question, since you're a big Harry Potter fan. What do you feel about these supposed rumors of this potential Harry Potter series coming out?
Yeah, so it's been blowing up actually we have like a MuggleNet chat of all the leaders and everybody hates the idea. I'm like open to it. Like I'll probably watch it. I think there's a lot that can go wrong, but HBO is just so good with show making. Like if anybody was to make it, I would trust HBO.
Right.
So I'm open to it. I think I'm way more excited for the video game than anything. But the show, I mean, I think it just depends. I think they could have done like a Marauders show with like, you know, the big four and expanded on their lives at Hogwarts. I'm hoping they're not going to do like a Harry, Ron, and Hermione because we already have a Harry, Ron, and Hermione. And they're over it. Like they're like, we're done with Harry Potter. Like we closed that chapter in our lives. Except for Rupert Grint loves being Ron. And I guess Daniel Radcliffe loves being Harry too. But I don't know. I feel like there's so much that can go wrong. But if I were to trust the network to produce it, it would be HBO. I feel like there could be a little right. There could be a little bit of good.
I feel like that's the mindset with any fan with any new show.
Yeah. It's very like, yeah, no, agreed.
Behind it, they're very like, we want it this way.
Yeah, and only this way.
We don't want it at all.
Exactly. I think that's too like, I don't know. People in our chat have been saying that they should ask, you know, the fans to submit ideas. Like that's what they did for Star Trek a few years ago. They asked maybe not even a few years ago, maybe a long time ago. I don't remember the timeline of it, but they asked fans to submit their ideas and scripts and stuff, and they picked 2 fans to write the whole series. And they did everything right. I don't watch Star Trek, so I don't really know what right is in their mind.
You're not a Trekkie?
I'm not a Trekkie. I'm a Warsy. I'm a Star Wars person. But yeah, so I think that there's a lot there. Like I'm gonna give it a shot. There's no harm in me like not like totally canceling it. Like I'm open to it.
Yeah, I was talking the other day, and my husband and I were talking, and we were talking about, because we're big fans of the Avatar series, the animated series and
And
stuff.
here she goes.
And no,
Here she goes.
Yes.
and we were talking about, how much we would love a video game. But here's our thing, because Star Wars is making a video game with Ubisoft, that open world game, which Ubisoft is great with open world. I mean, they made all the Assassin's Creed games and stuff like that. We were saying that we don't necessarily want a video game that has the main characters on it, because you already know what happens, with their storylines and stuff.
And they have the Lego ones.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm saying, like, for Harry Potter, just like anything else that already has a developed story, you already know what happened, with those characters and stuff. You want to, like, explore different realms or different storylines in that specific universe to not only draw in a new crowd, but also bring fans and, pique their interest again, because you don't want to hear, Harry did this for like the 10th time or whatever.
Yeah.
But but if you do use those characters, it would have to be like a different timeline than people already know. Like, they already know what happens when they're at school,
Yeah.
So,
and that's what I think the idea of Fantastic Beasts was so cool. It was like, okay, we're seeing a totally new side of the Wizarding World. We're getting a totally new region, like area. They're in New York, and it's in the 20s, and there are all these new characters that are developed. I mean, whether or not, people like the second one or the new one that's coming out and all that stuff that's happening there, it was such a nice change, I guess, because even the Fantastic Beasts book was just like supposed to be a textbook of all these different beasts, but then they turned it into a totally new series. And I think you're completely right in saying, if you do the same characters, we don't want to see what happens 10 times. Like, we don't want to find out that Harry's a Horcrux. We know that. Like we know that information.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good point.
totally.
And I think I think that's a fun thing about the new video game that's coming out. It's set in the 1800s, the late 1800s, in the Wizarding World in Hogwarts, but you're creating your own story.
right.
Like, you're choosing your path if you want to be a Death Eater or whatever they were called at that time. And you're just choosing your own path. So I think that's really important. But an Avatar game, I will sign up for that in a heartbeat. I would love that.
What nation are you? Or
I always bounced. I always feel like I should be in the Fire Nation, but the Water Nation just calls to me. I don't know why.
Well, you're Pisces.
Oh, that's true. This is true. Also, it's just, I don't know. Qatar is just really cool. The whole Water Nation is just really cool.
What are you, D?
I would definitely be Earth.
Right?
Yeah.
I took one of those BuzzFeed quizzes. It said I was the Avatar, so.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm honored to be talking to the Avatar right now.
I feel like I could do anything. It depends on my mood.
Bingo. That is the Avatar attitude. Oh my god.
Are you really big into video games?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't consider myself like a super gamer, but I do love keeping up with the new games. And when I was a kid, I was like constantly on the GameCube and PlayStation 2.
Any since quarantine? Because that's something that I picked up again, was playing video games.
Yeah. I just got Uncooked 2 on the Switch, which is just like this kind of diner dash game. That's a fun one. Very stressful. That's a fun one. Assassin's Creed, of course.
Which one? Oh, did you get the new one?
No, I've actually been playing the ones I've missed as a prerequisite to Valhalla.
I'm doing Origins right now.
Nice.
Danielle did Odyssey while she was home because I have both. I have like all of them.
Yeah, that's the one I think I'm on now, is Odyssey. I've been playing so much of them. I think Odyssey is the one that I think that's the one I'm on now.
Greece, the one in Greece.
Yes, that's the one I'm on. Yeah, that one's a cool one. I really like that one.
Yeah, big into those too.
Origins, yeah, I haven't played Origins in like a million years.
I highly recommend. I say it's better than Odyssey, right, D?
It depends on your opinion and personal preference.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, little quick bit.
God.
Origins is more of an actual assassin story. You know,
Mhm.
like you're actually acting as an assassin. Where Odyssey is just, I think, like background info of, why someone would be an assassin. And it just, it sets up the whole Order of the Agent / Templar, like why people would do it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Also, it's just a beautiful game.
Right. Yep.
The scenery is just so. I'm a sucker for a story because writers love a good story, but I love that background. Like, okay, but why? Because I always want to know the why to things. Like, I don't know, like Harley Quinn. Why did she change from being a super successful therapist to a psychotic
Sad.
acrobat?
Mm-hmm.
And she, yeah, I can just go into that story a whole lot, but no, I completely agree. Like, Origins definitely has the actual assassin part of Assassin's Creed, which people obviously look for. But Odyssey just has beauty to it, and the story is just really cool.
The story is great.
Yeah, I really just enjoy it a lot.
Speaking of story, good segue, guys.
We
Let's talk
love
about
it.
your book.
Okay.
Why are you saying it like that? It's great.
I feel like I don't really do much with it. I wrote it, I published it. It's sold out of Barnes and Noble in the store.
Okay, hold on. Time out. Real quick. Let me get in because I have it.
That's my book.
I have the book, and you signed the book.
I did sign it.
Okay, so her poetry book is Life's Sinister Spells and Other Magic that came out 2 years ago? You published it 2 years ago?
Time is confusing. I think it was 2 years. It had to have been 2018.
Something like that, 2-ish years ago.
2018? What year is it? What day is it today? Whatever, but yeah, go ahead.
I keep writing 2020 on all of my stuff still.
Me too.
It's fair. It's January. It's fair.
Yeah. It's when May rolls around and you're like, oh, why am I still doing this?
Very true. I want to talk about it because it's really awesome. Congratulations on publishing it because that's hella cool just to begin with. But, well, let me go back. Poetry, right? Yeah. And you've talked multiple times in the podcast and interview that you're a writer and you like writing. What was it about poetry specifically? Because there's so many different types of writing that interested you and fascinated you to start getting into it.
So I have always been a fiction writer, always been writing about characters who are similar to myself, who have different storylines and stuff, but I was in such a dark place where I would just take out a piece of paper and just write down how I was feeling in some different way, and then it just became like poetry. It was actually just how it came to me also. Like I always have thought very poetically and very like dramatically, I guess you can say. But poetry, because I went away to college. For those who don't know, I went away to college before I was a commuter. And yeah, and I hated it. I missed home. I never was a person to go away to camp or go away to even like spend the night at, like, I would spend the night at like my grandma's house when I was a kid, but it would be me and all of my cousins. So I was never really.
But it was comfortable.
Yeah, and I was never really like alone in those situations. And even when I was like, I remember there was this one night when I was a kid, I slept over my aunt's house and I was alone, and I was like, I hate this. But I always felt like I had to go away to college because nobody in my family had stayed home and been a commuter. So I always felt like I just had to go away. That was the only choice. I knew I didn't want to, but something was like, I have no choice. So I went away.
Sorry to intervene.
Oh, yeah.
Because I agree. Because, I mean, I had the same thing where when it came time for me to transfer, because I started at community college, everybody was telling me to go away.
Yeah.
You need to go away. You need to have the college experience.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever
Total
that
quotes around the college experience.
whatever that is. And I found that I told you I had got to the point where I was gonna go away. I had gotten into a school in Pennsylvania. I was gonna go away. I
Yeah.
put all the cards in, and then don't transfer schools during a pandemic. One, it's difficult. But no, like once I had like nobody would get back to me about scheduling. I didn't know what was going on. Mind you, like it was the beginning of the pandemic, so I'm sure everybody was figuring out their ish, right? So I give them that, but I'm like, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't go away, because deep down inside I ultimately do not want to go away,
Yeah.
because there is a benefit and a comfortability of one being home, but two, I found that I feel like I was going to leave my life and kind of wasted away at school, because
Right.
I'm at home, I'm working, I'm also going to school, like I'm maintaining a responsibility and a schedule. Um, and if I went away, I'm just kind of blowing that off and spending so much money.
Right.
But when I was applying to Rutgers, they asked, "Why did you apply to Rutgers?" And I said, "Because I was told by everybody that I have to gain this college experience, and that just meant going away to school. But in reality, those are other people's college's experiences. That's not mine.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not
And it
that's
really
not
does differ between people. And I think that's what a
yeah.
lot of high schoolers need to know. Like every time somebody asks me like, "Oh, what was it like applying to colleges?" I'm like, "Just do what you want to do. Like just don't listen to anybody." I think that's something so important that like the younger crowd, I mean, we're not so much older obviously, but I think I
Well,
don't
when they
know.
have
And it's
people
so
come back
hard.
from school, they'll have
Yeah.
people, because at our school they had college students come back to talk to the high schoolers. They didn't have any community college kids there.
Exactly. It was all people who went away. And I had signed up for that and I was ready to talk about me transitioning from Montclair to Monmouth, but then there was a huge snowstorm and they canceled the whole thing. I was like, damn, I was like, I was really ready to tell these kids, like, do what you want to do. like
Yeah.
don't do what people tell you is the college. Like there's such a, I guess, a definition to college of being like, oh yeah, you got to go away and you got to party and you got to have those nights when you're so sick to your stomach that you can't even wake up the next day. But it's like, no, like that's not for everybody. And like, I don't know, like my college experience will totally differ from everybody's. Yours will, and Danielle's, yours will, you know, like it's just everybody has a different experience, but you just got to do what you want to do. So it's just like, that's so important to tell people.
Yeah, because in your book you talk about it a lot. And
Yeah, and I was also having such a hard time because I was in school, the relationships around me, like my own with John, the boy,
oof,
and John, and every like just things were like just withering away because I felt myself, like I felt so down within myself, but everybody else, like John and other people, and he will attest to this too, like I guess just didn't understand that, and I was like also not having the best like attitude towards things, and I was just completely alone and just felt so down, and that's when the whole poetry thing really kicked off, and I was just writing nonstop, notebooks full of poetry, and then transitioning back. It wasn't like a terrible transition. Monmouth was really great about it, but just transitioning back, like finding a job and like doing things like that, learning the commuting lifestyle. And then a good friend of mine was arrested, and then weeks later a sister figure of mine passed away. So it was just like a lot of this crazy emotion in such a short amount of time. And that's when I just literally nonstop was like boom boom boom, writing writing writing. um
so
and I
you
didn't even
started writing
realize.
relatively recently then.
Yeah, poetry was a complete, I hated poetry. I like, because what we learned in high school and middle school was like Thoreau and like all these poets who were just like, I don't want to do this, and we were forced to do like poetry out loud, and I just had such a bad, I guess, thought about poetry. Like it was just like such a negative connotation because the way that we learned about poetry was so different from the poetry that I wrote. And I didn't learn about that type of poetry because I just thought I was like writing sentences. And then I started reading poetry books and starting to gain an understanding that there's so many different types of poetry out there. Um, where I was like, I am writing poetry and I could successfully, you know, publish this one day. And I didn't realize until I looked in my notebook that I had like 120 different poems.
Yeah.
And that's when I just started putting them together and I asked Catherine to illustrate it and we just kind of put it out.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point because when I think of poetry or when a lot of people think of poetry, poetry is something that can be very it can differ from perception depending on who's reading it because it's like scripture in a lot of ways where it's interpreted differently from different
Yeah.
people. But when I got your book the first time, I read it and I loved it because I was hella excited for you. But the second time reading it, I actually was like not that I wasn't paying attention, but I was paying attention to what you were saying, and the way that you were writing your poetry for real was a lot like how musical artists write lyrics. Like it coincides with lyricism where you are very much telling your story and talking about different topics like heartbreak and
Yeah.
love and feeling alone and grief in ways in poetry that are have that pointed emotion where it's very universal and people can understand what they're reading. So
Right. And I
good job
think
with
too,
that.
like, yeah, thank you. I think too, like a lot of like every poem is obviously like if you put one in front of me, I'd be like, oh yeah, that this is the story behind it, and this is how I was feeling at that point writing it. Um, but I wanted it to be, like you said, universal, where if somebody picked it up who I didn't know, who didn't know what I was going through, they could relate to it in some way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course, like there are poems there are poems in there that are illustrated to my experiences, like when my friend was arrested and the newspapers, it looks like the newspapers are flying away because that was a very intense point of my life where I was constantly on the news and constantly looking at, like, I would go into Gems or Bagel store and see his face on the front cover and be like, oh my God, like I grew up with that person and that was heartbreaking. So of course, like that poem with that illustration tells a very specific story. But if somebody else were to read it, they could be like, oh, I know how you feel, kind of thing, like I wanted to make it very universal. And that's really why I published it anyway. Like I'm not looking for any type of income from it. And that's why I don't really promote my book so much. I'm like, if somebody stumbles on it, that's going to be great. But I did it for myself as like closure, and also for anybody else who picks it up and is like, this is helping me, which is like, I've had a few people in Barnes and Noble come up to me and be like, oh my God, like this was beautiful. I'm like, thank you. JJ actually being one of them who we graduated with. Yeah, I went away with him. I went away with JJ a few months ago. Not a few months ago. Oh my God, it's January. Over the summer, we went away with like a bunch of people, and Catherine still talks to him too. So she was telling him about it, and he bought it, and he just tells people to buy it now. He's like, "Oh, if you have a chance, just buy this book. It's so good." I'm like, "Oh my God, JJ."
No, it is. I mean, I agree. It is really good because as somebody who knows a lot about specifics and like in the book, you do paint a very good picture of making it broad enough to people to understand, but also your writing, it's pointed enough where the interpretation from other people, they know what's happening and it's easy to relate.
Thank you.
So you mentioned Catherine working on the illustration with you.
Yeah.
What was that like? How much say did you have in certain pictures that coincided with your work? Like how much involvement did you have specifically in choosing what illustrations you wanted in the book?
Yeah, so a lot. We worked hours and hours on end, days at a time, mapping out what it was that I wanted. Like the vision I had, I would give her certain authors, like Shel Silverstein, for example. Those very sketched out pictures that are very specific. Like, I just fall in love with that kind of artistry, and like even those as like tattoos are great. I just love that kind of like sketched out look. And that's the kind of look I wanted for my book too. Like, because obviously the emotions are all over the place, so I want the pictures to kind of represent that. But I printed out like 2 copies of the book just like on printer paper. We would go to Staples and then we would organize them. It was like hours and hours in like Barnes and Noble, Bell Works, and even Brookdale too. Like I would meet her at the school and be like, "We're doing this now." Like I would come home from Monmouth and I would just meet her at the school and be like, "Boom, let's work on this right now." But we would like organize it in a way, and she would take the pages home and she would make like 2 or 3 different drawings, and I'd be like, I love this one. But most of them she just completely nailed on the head. Like there were probably a handful where I was like, oh, maybe we can like change this or do something with that, but she just like completely nailed it on the head with what I wanted. And we both think very similarly too. We've been friends for so long where it was like we just know each other so well. So she knew like pretty much exactly what I wanted. But I remember the first picture she handed back to me was for a poem about my grandfather, who my cousins and I were very close with, and he passed away a long time ago. But I was like, for his memory, I'm going to write something because, we do miss him, all this stuff. And I remember she asked me for a picture of him and I. So I gave her this picture of me like as this little baby and him holding me, and she drew it and gave it back to me, and I was like, oh my God, like I teared up because it was so like perfect and it just encapsulated that moment so well. And that's just how she did it for the rest of the books. And there were 2 like the ones about like total loss and total heartbreak and stuff like that, where I was like, this is how I was feeling in this moment, and here's some things that I want in this drawing. And she would just do it perfectly, and I was like, great. That's it. And there's a couple that her and I really love so much from that book, one being a demon kind of like in half with the knife going through.
That's my favorite one.
Oh my God, she did such a great job with that one.
My favorite one.
Such a great job. And I remember too, I think a couple illustrations before that one or a couple after. There's one of a demon kind of being sucked back into a book, and that's supposed to represent like my closure. Like this book is the closure and everything like that. And I told her, I was like, I have my demons and this is what it's supposed to represent and all this stuff. She came back with that picture and I was like, that's exactly what I wanted. And it was really great. And we both had a lot of say in it, but I trusted her entirely. I was like, you know what? Like, this is your creative freedom as much as it is mine. Yep. If I don't like something, then I'm just going to be honest with you. And she really nailed it on the head. Like, she really did a great job with it. We were thinking about doing spoiler alert, a second edition of the book. Yeah, we were thinking about doing a second edition of the book because there are a couple of typos that my perfectionist self was like, Dana, why didn't you see those? Because I went through and edited it like so many times. And there are a couple of things that I just want to change. And there are a couple of things where the feelings have changed and the moments have changed because at that time, like going back to my friend who was arrested, we didn't know if we were ever going to see him again because everything was just so bad at that point. We didn't know. I published the book and 6 months later we find out he's only going to be in there for like another year or so. So I was like, okay, like I guess in his respect and in my own brain, like I don't feel that way anymore. Like I wrote letters at the end of the book because I always express my emotions through letters as well. And that's just a way of like getting thoughts out on a page. Like, I don't know, it's like writing a letter to somebody but not actually sending it.
No, totally.
Is like a really big thing that I do.
More powerful when you send them, trust me. I know.
Yeah. T. Oh my god, TBT. But um but yeah, it's like the emotions in there. I'm like, I don't really feel those. And he's read the book, he knows everything, and his family has read the book, they know everything. But I'm just like, I don't know, I just don't
Well, I mean,
feel
to
that
that,
way
I think
anymore.
but I think you should keep it in only because you can look back and say this specific period
Yeah,
in my life and this is how I felt. Because when you grow up, you feel different things towards different people or different opinions on stuff. So
yeah.
I mean, you should just write a second one.
I know. I was thinking about it, but I have like my brain. I've changed so much of the way I think. I'm not like changed so much the way I think. Like I still think very like poetically and stuff, but actually writing. Like I think I was in such a low point of my life where I was like writing just constantly, and now I'm like constantly writing like stories and like fictional stories and stuff like that, and kind of portraying my emotions within a fictional character. But I'm like, it'll probably take me like years to actually write like poetry again, like that way, like so raw, so emotional. But I know Catherine wants to change the cover of the first book. So I was
Why?
like, maybe
I
we'll
like
start
it.
there. I don't know why she wants to change it, but I'm like, you know what? If she wants to change it, we could do like a second edition,
Well, I'm
like a
sure she
darker
probably
edition, like a anniversary.
yeah, that'd be cool.
Like an anniversary where it's like a darker like cover and like something like that. But yeah.
Um, one thing I want to ask you is using not your real name and an alias name or a stage name for your writing. Did you find that helped you in any way to get your emotions out?
Yeah,
Or yeah,
definitely. I think a lot of people didn't know what I was going through because I feel like I've always felt like if I tell people how I'm really feeling and how sad I am and how distressed I am, I'm bothering them. And I always felt that way.
yo, same.
When I was a kid, like I was like I always felt like I had to be the strong one for the family. Like going, I mean, you know this, Kim,
I
but
know.
a million people in my not a million, that's a dramatic statement, but a lot of people have died in my life, and I've just kind of like built this wall up where I would go to funerals and just try to be the strong one, like try not to cry, try to be the strong one for my dad or my mom or my brother and stuff like that. And publishing under an alias just felt so much safer. I
Mhm.
was like, if my like I remember having the thought of like, if somebody I wrote about in this book found this book on a shelf, I don't want them to know that I wrote it. And I don't want them, that's why I used a lot of different names in the book as well.
Right.
So I changed a lot of things. I
I
mean,
know who
those
all of them
people all
are, though.
know who they are. Those
I know who
people,
they are.
yeah, and those people know exactly who they are too. Like
Good,
they,
they should.
they know
They
they don't know
should.
why I named them, but I have reasons in my head.
Should.
But it just felt so much safer. But the second I pressed publish and the second that I received my copy, I was like, you stupid idiot. I was like, you should be proud of what you wrote and you should be proud of what you did. And like, who cares what they have to say, kind of thing. Like, if somebody I wrote about in this book finds it off the shelf, like, yeah, you're in a book and I wrote about you. Like, like it should have been more of a pride thing. And I actually, on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, it does say, I think it says by Dana Caterina parentheses Skyro. Now, because I was like, you know what, this is like, I'm so proud of that.
That's the OG, so.
The OG.
I remember when it came out, it was crazy.
Yeah, it was such a weird feeling because I have always dreamt of being published in some way, but I would have never thought that this would be how it is published.
I was pumped.
I remember I was like, oh my god.
I was like, of course. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, thank you. But yeah, it was definitely a weird but exciting experience for me. And I think if I could like slap myself on the head and be like, just publish it under your name, like then it would have been like perfect.
Yeah, but that's all the lessons in life that you're going to learn.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? I have this alias now, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
sure. And now like the versions that were in Barnes and Noble, I used to work at Barnes and Noble, which is why they were actually in the store. And I'm like tight with the manager still, so she was like, hey, sign these, and we'll put a signed edition sticker on them. I was like, okay. And I think I signed them Dana Caterina parentheses Skyro as well, because I was just like, what the hell, why not? Like, this is such a prideful moment. Like, this is my home Barnes and Noble store. I want people from high school to see like, oh shit, she did that. Or like, I want, like, I don't know, it's just such like a prideful thing. Like, I'm proud of it, and I'm not proud of, I'm like proud that something quote beautiful came out of something so brutal, I guess, if you could say.
I feel like, but that always happens though, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's something I keep relearning too. It's something that I keep being like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, the tough, like, the tough lessons in life always lead to something.
Yeah, always lead to something good.
You learn lessons through hardships the most.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's the light at the end of the tunnel type of scenario.
Definitely, yeah. For sure.
Okay, so for people that are interested in actually publishing like a piece of their work, what were the steps you had to go through, you know, after writing to get your poetry book published?
Yeah, so I self-published on both Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I did Amazon because that was, like, after doing a lot of research, that was the website that you can gain the most revenue from. In case it did, you know, become a career path of mine rather than a hobby or something that I just wanted to like put out there. I was like, okay, if anything, then they're, because like other sites were like, we're going to take 70% of your book and you can take 30. And I was like, this is my baby. I was like, I don't want to give you 70% of the rights of my book, but Amazon was really great about it. I think the website was Kindle Direct Publishing. And you can self-publish on there. Everything is very simple, step by step, just like information about you, your book, how much you want to sell it for, and I guess like write your own summary and put your cover here. And they give you every guide that you need to, which was also really nice about Kindle and Amazon's publishing system, was that they walked you through the whole process. So it felt like more like applying to college than it did like publishing a book, like something where you just fill out all this information about yourself and talk a little bit about yourself and have a cover and stuff like that. They were really great about putting you in a comfortable position. And once, I think it's, you just submit it and then somebody takes a look at it, just quickly making sure everything's good. They send you an author copy of like, not for resale, but this is what your book is going to look like, which was so crazy getting that package. I was like, oh, what's this? I opened it up. I was like, oh my God. I was like, this is my book. And it was such an emotional experience. As far as I remember, Barnes and Noble was also a very similar thing. They do take a little bit more, but I think publishing with Barnes and Noble is just a smart idea because it's it's like an actual bookstore.
Right.
And I don't know, I think just supporting bookstores is like my number one mantra. Like if you can buy a book from a bookstore rather than Amazon, like Jeff Bezos has enough. But Barnes and Noble
sure.
like won't be able to be around all the time, like anymore. Like I'm sure 10 years down the line when everything's completely digital, not 10 years, that seems like a little too short. But when everything's completely digital, then like we won't have Barnes and Noble anymore. Or at least in the aspect that we know it as. So I trusted Barnes and Noble fully with that. And plus, like I know the manager of our local store, so I was like, if anything, then she can help me out in this case. But yeah, I mean, doing your research is like the number one thing. Just what you want out of your book and whose hands you want to put it in.
Right.
Because there are also like there were options of just getting my book printed and selling it off of Etsy, which I did think about doing too, actually recently. I was like, maybe if I do that, then I could make more out of it. But then I was like, one, I'm not really good at promoting. Like, it's funny, like social media promotion is like not my best thing for me, or even my mom who has a business, but like I could do it for MuggleNet. Like, I don't know, there's some sort of logic there.
It's always weird to like promote your own things though. There's like an icky feeling about it.
Yeah, and I definitely had a hard time with it. Like I had a an Instagram account for it, for my book and my poetry and stuff, and I would publish little things from it, and it was just very strange. It was just like I don't know, I just couldn't do it. It's like when you're writing something about yourself, like when you're writing like a biography or like a small bio, like tell us about yourself. It's like I like to eat. I like to
Yeah, right.
paint. I like to, and you're like talking like a kindergartner. It's like, did you just learn how to write? Like, like it was so hard. I'm like, oh, my book is out. That's it. Like, here's where you can get it. Like, there was no excitement in that for me. And also, it just felt like a responsibility that I didn't want to keep up with. And that's why I kind of put it in the hands of like the
Someone
universe,
else.
if you're going to say, because really the reason why I did it was closure for myself. Like, I really don't have any intention of like super making money off of it. Like, I just got a check from Barnes and Noble for $10. I'm like, okay, I'll go buy myself coffee. Like, it's just like it's like a nice thing for me, and like just a nice memory for me, rather than I want to make this my career. Let's just keep going with it, kind of thing.
You put it out. You put the book out not for like a greedy intention. You put it out for like closure for you, and also to help other people, which Kim and I talk about it all the time. I think whenever you start a project, if you start it with good intentions, then in the long run it will be better off than if, oh, I just want to make money off of this thing or something, you know.
Definitely. And that's what I feel like a lot of people who do like YouTube say. It's like, just do it because you enjoy it. Don't do it because you want to make money or want to live in LA and like have this huge expensive house. Like, do it for you. Don't do it for, like the greedy intentions of it.
Right. Like, if money does come along, that's fine, but just start something with like good intentions and something that you want to do, rather than, oh, someone's telling you to do this. But I think it's very smart that you pick 2 different avenues or 2 different websites to publish your book. That way, just people can, if they want to, go out and get the book. If it's sold at one place, they can go somewhere else. And I agree with the whole thing about bookstores. I think since living in the Pacific Northwest, bookstores is like a regional thing. Like in New Jersey, I think bookstores are declining, but for the Pacific Northwest, bookstores is huge. Like Portland has one of the oldest bookstores in the country.
Nice to hear. That's like really nice to hear. I love that.
Cause like,
especially because like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, when I was home, I went to the bookstore, to buy a book, and granted, it just opened. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning or whatever when they just opened, and there was like no one. But then I go to Barnes and Noble here. Every time I go, it's busy. So
yeah, it's definitely totally different depending on where you are.
Right.
But like, yeah, in I remember when I worked at Barnes and Noble, they would always tell us, if somebody came up to you and said, why is this book so expensive here? Why can't I just get it off of Amazon? They always just would say, oh, just explain it to them. Like, we benefit from you purchasing from us. And if you want us to stay around, then purchase from us. But I remember I used to just tell people, because you're dealing with real people here, you're not dealing with a robot, or you're not dealing with just a package. You're getting an experience here, whereas Amazon, you're just buying it and receiving it 2 days later. Like, there's just something so special about being in a bookstore. And I don't know if it's just me, because I'm like a lover of books. Like, I just love books and I love words and the whole 9 yards. But I don't know, there's just something about being in a bookstore that's completely different. And like, there's so much, dare I say, magic in bookstores.
But is your book still up for sale if somebody would want to get it?
Yeah, so you can get it on Kindle, you can get it on Amazon, both in the same place. You can go on Amazon and buy the Kindle version, or I think the Kindle version's free, or like $1, something very insignificant. But you can buy it physical copy there, or Kindle. And then I always say, like, Barnes and Noble, you can get it online if you want to. It's just, again, like, the bad part about buying it from Barnes and Noble is the shipping's like $6 or something crazy like that. Which was nice having it in a bookstore, because then it would allow people who are our age who can't really afford books that much, or buying books like once in a blue moon. Like in the bookstore, it was, you know, there and handy, and you just get it there.
Yeah, shipping's a bitch. It really creeps up on
Yeah,
you.
that's the bad part of Amazon, that
It
it
really
just brainwashed us to be like, we can get it in 2 days for no money. Like, that's the bad part about it. I feel like I
Dang it,
totally went
Amazon.
against my point of saying like support bookstores, but like the shipping is so much money.
All right. So we're going to leave it with this last question.
Okay.
What are your goals for 2021?
2021. I actually created a vision board for the first time in my life. I
Like
felt
a
very
physical.
yeah, like physical vision board. I felt very like Pinteresty doing it.
Mhm.
But I was like, this needs to be done because I have a lot of things I want to get done in 2021. Um, and I just needed it all in one space. Like just for an organizational reason, I just needed it all in one space. Um, but I definitely want to be healthier this year. With my whole liver scare and all that stuff happening, I was like, I definitely need to keep up with my health and like really feel good about myself, feel confident about what myself, and like learn the greatness of nutrition. Like just knowing that like this is a healthier option for me and it tastes good versus this that's like super unhealthy for me. Although it tastes good, it's super unhealthy and will only cause like bad things in the long run. Because the whole liver thing was like really scary, and like I don't drink, but they were like, you're on your road to liver failure. And I was like, oh my
Really?
God. Yeah. And it was just because I was eating so badly. So that's definitely like 2021 was like, oh yeah, I just need to learn all the things about health and feel good about myself.
I find that I have to change the mindset of food.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And also the mindset of like motivation, like cooking something versus just buying it at the store. Like,
Right. But honestly, and Danielle, don't gain an ego because I said this. You should get into like lifting.
yeah.
Because no, because I was getting into weightlifting or like just working like pumping some iron and stuff
Yeah.
and doing cardio because I would do cardio all the time. And granted, cardio I think is very important. But
Yeah.
like
But it
I was
feels
doing
good to like lift weights.
okay, but my thigh muscles are coming in. They're getting toned, so you should do that. I highly
I know I
recommend.
have to get back into it. My mom and I have these like like workout regimes every day. Um and weightlifting just like even slightly, like just doing different things. Like yesterday I had leg day and my legs are killing me today. But I was like, I've worked places that I didn't even know existed. Like I'm feeling sore like in my thighs that I didn't even know were part of my thighs. Like like I was like, this feels good though. And that's like I think that's a fun motivational thing where it's just like, okay, you feel good, now keep going. But then it's the days, of course, when you're like, I have a headache, or like, I don't want to. But that's
Well,
definitely a goal, um, to write more. And also, I am graduating in May, so
woo! Are you
gotta gotta
excited?
start picking up on the job search. And I applied to some internships, but they're mostly in LA, so LA might be in my future of 2021,
Dang.
which is definitely different, and I'm actually like really nervous about it, like really nervous about it.
Mhm.
um, but Ariel is in LA now, so I'm
Yeah.
like, at least I'll know somebody who's there. And I don't know. I think that's probably in the future, but getting a job or internship that I'm comfortable in and happy in is like the goal. Um, Disney's always the goal, you know. What else is on my vision board? Um, I have a couple like cosplay ideas on there, but just because I want to like want to make the costumes and like fully like the first costume I ever made, that was like for a Comic-Con or something, was the Anastasia Once Upon a December dress. And the feeling of finishing that costume from bottom to top, not so successfully, but I have the skills now to make it successful. um it's just like I want that like kind of hobby and feeling in some of that, because I enjoy it so much, but I've never really like successfully, in quotes, completed something. So that's on my list. But pretty much just feeling good and like being optimistic, taking things day by day. And because I really learned like the last 3 months or so of 2020, after, you know, the Great Depression of quarantine happened, I really learned of like changing my mindset and just looking at things with a better view, and like not being so emotionally attached to things. Like, I don't know, like something would happen, I'd be so sad about it, but it really was something that's like, okay, but forget about the emotional side of it. Let's just pick up and just move on. Like, let's
Yeah.
learn from this, like how we were talking about before. Like, it's a learning experience. Like, it happened. Let's just keep going. And that's the kind of mindset I want for 2021. Like, if something drastic happens, and just being like, okay, but what's the next step from here?
Yeah.
Being like more logical about it rather than emotional about it. Because my emotions take over so much. But I think it's just like, I just need that logical side of things, and just being like, oh, I don't really care that I dropped an ice cream cone. Like, what's the next step? Like, things like that. Just having a better mindset and feeling good about myself is like completely the goal of 2021. It's a theme. We have a theme for 2021. It's a theme.
Kim, it
What about
sounds
you
like
guys?
all your friends are
2021.
leaving you.
2021. Let's see. What are my goals in 2021?
Kim.
The workout food thing, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. I think I'm kind of in the same place of you, of like, just, I find that with every year, something fantastically crazy happens with me.
Yeah.
That-
Word.
That, like,
Tweet.
just, like, but it's, you know, beautiful tragedy, right? Like, it puts you into this point where you are now. So I think because COVID and everything that happened, I think I'm on the same page. Like, just what I learned this year is like figuring out the people who are like genuinely there for me,
Yeah.
and have those people, and I think also to being more vocal about what I'm feeling and my emotions to other people,
Yeah.
because
That's a big
sometimes
thing for me too.
it's not fair to just kind of keep quiet a lot of the time and bottle things up, especially when it bothers you, and you should just be honest with somebody else.
Yeah, of course.
I think just working on myself as well.
And you need people around you who like completely pump you up. Like people who are going to like be there and be like, yeah, you know, you can do it, and not be so,
But like be there, but like say it, but also do it.
right,
know?
Exactly, yeah.
'Cause some
Like
people don't
actually
do it.
like yeah, yeah.
They say it, but they don't do it. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, it's definitely a good goal to have too.
I mean, I will say for people who are listening, Dane and I kind of had a lovely falling out of.
Yeah. Yes, this is our like first time like face to face since that, not Zoom to Zoom, I guess.
Yeah, but
like seeing each other since that whole thing happened.
I can't even remember. I couldn't even tell you what happened.
I'm so like over it.
This is the thing. It's like whenever I blow up on people, because I've done that, like, just give me 6 months. I'll apologize.
Yeah.
You know, like, I always feel bad about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, but, I was thinking, because when I was reflecting, I was like, honestly, like, as a friend who would say that they had my back, but also would do that with action, you were probably one of the only people who would do that. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I try. Yeah. I'm not always like the best person myself to like, you know, express my emotions and like talk about my feelings. Like, cause like I said earlier, like when the podcast started, I am somebody who cries at everything, but I don't necessarily show how I'm truly feeling. Like I'll cry at like, you know, the sickening music in Game of Thrones and being like so emotionally touched by how beautiful the composition of the music is, but like I won't necessarily tell people like this is how I'm feeling while I'm going through this. I try to put up like that strong
I do the same thing.
So, yeah, it's definitely hard, but I try to be a good friend.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, it was. I mean, you know, it happened. We're here now.
Yeah, like
That's all that matters. Like,
yeah.
it doesn't even. Yeah.
And honestly, like when especially it's funny because I'm gonna leave it at this because I'm not going into specifics, but when you as in me, when I get mad or complain about something somebody else is doing,
Yeah.
and then that happens to me, it gives a lot of perspective.
Definitely. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, definitely. And you're on the other side of the tracks now. Now it's like you're looking
Yeah,
into
and then
it.
I text you, I'm like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm really sorry because, like, I was mean and now everyone's being mean to me. And not understanding what you felt.
Here's the
So
thing that Kim does. She'll, like she said, she'll get mad at someone doing it to her, which makes her realize she did it to someone else. She's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
No, seriously.
No,
Like,
yeah, definitely.
Shitty.
So
So I apologize.
It's all good.
But
It's been like so long. I'm just like we're both in different places now. It's like whatever.
And we're
like,
Gucci. We're friends now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But Kim,
I have no reason but to do that.
Right.
It's like I don't know.
You know,
But Kim,
When you asked me to do this and you were like, "Wow, I'm surprised you said yes," I was like, "Why wouldn't I?" Like I feel like I would feel like guilty if I said no. You know what I mean? Like I would have been like, "Oh, what is that? Like what am I doing?" That's like I don't know. It just my mindset is like, just do it. Like you know what I mean? Like who cares? Like if I said no, it would be like out of petty, and I just don't have that bone in my body anymore. I'm just like,
dude, me neither. It
just
goes away every year. It gets smaller. It breaks.
it's like the Grinch's heart. Like just it goes 3 sizes bigger.
Yeah.
That's been my thing now. Is like people showed me like a dog like a corgi picture, and I'm like, my heart just grew 3 sizes bigger.
Hey Kim,
Oh my God.
it sounds like though all your friends are moving away from you. Like
What do you
Ariel's in LA. Dana might
I
move
know
to
all
LA.
my friends are gonna leave me now.
Let's go to California.
I mean, I just might. I mean,
I know.
who knows?
It's a scary thought, but it's like something that's so necessary that needs to happen.
Mhm.
Like my dad was like, "You're not going to California." I was like, "Do you want me to have a successful career?" Like I can't stay in New Jersey forever. Although I would want to.
Right.
It's not logical.
Yeah. When we
Wherever the
interview
wind will
Ariel,
take us.
the one quote she said, which is really powerful, is that, and the reason why behind she moved and also her mom moved, was that she'd rather be struggling in a place she wanted to be than be comfortable in a place she didn't want to be.
Yeah, I love her.
I know
her.
She's great.
That is such a great quote too, and I've been talking to her. I've talked to her forever. Obviously, we went to school with her, and after the fact, and her and the boy worked together, so I was constantly out over Easy and seeing her and stuff. But when she moved away, it was just this dynamic of like, you know what, like you did something that I've been wanting to do but too afraid to do. Yeah. And she's just been like pumping me up for it. She's just been like how you like what she said to you guys. It's just like, why would you not do it? And if you're uncomfortable, then move back. Like there's no like permanence in anything.
Yeah, and I had a point in time for school. I'm like, maybe I just have to go out west and go to LA. Like I was thinking of going to Seattle and staying with Danielle. Like, you know,
I remember that.
It's just all about like figuring stuff out. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up over there either, but
yeah.
Do something about her.
What was the change for you, Danielle? Like, how were you feeling like moving to? I mean, I know like the main points of, you know, like moving out there, but
well, I think we talked about this with Ariel. It was different for me because I had to come here for work, so I didn't have a choice. But specifically this part of Washington's okay, but when you get past the rain and stuff to the nice parts, that's the place that we really want to be. It's just you have to save up and stuff. But the main things for me were, at the time, I wanted to advance my career, you know, and also wanted to be back in the States because being overseas is just so difficult if you want to maintain relationships you already had and work
Right.
on relationships that you want to prosper. So being in the States is easier. But one big thing for me was I wanted to find a place that really fit who I was, and New Jersey. New Jersey's very, fast paced, city orientated, and I wouldn't say laid back, but I'm more of like a country, outdoorsy, sporty type of person.
Right.
Um, and also I wanted to find a place that not only could I maintain relationships with, but also grow in my own like aspirations and stuff. So,
Yeah.
and just for the fact that the Navy just sent me here is like, okay, let's see how it goes. Now
Yeah.
that we've been in this specific area of Washington, we're like, all right, we don't want this rain. So we're in the
Yeah.
process of like, we want to fix up the house so we can rent it. Again, that's one area that we're working on and is like income and prospering in that end. So we want to rent this and then move to somewhere nicer in Washington. But Kim and I have talked about this because we're manifesting when this all
That's
takes off
exactly
and
how I've been.
stuff.
I'm like, we're manifesting.
Yeah.
When?
when this all takes off and stuff, we need to find like, okay, we should get like maybe an office in both states and like do different projects, and we both like, well, I'll commute most of the time, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah, that's fun.
yeah,
That's
so we'll
really
all come together again. Manifesting. It's just a matter of time and investment.
Yeah, and congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I was so excited for you. I saw it on Facebook. I was like, like that's so exciting.
No, just we want the big wedding, like the actual like having the fun times and stuff.
Course.
But I don't know.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I also have I forgot one of my goals. It's not for 2021, but I want to renovate and live in a van and travel.
So fun. Oh my gosh. I follow this person who does that. Well, it's like an RV. It's like a bigger space, but I'm like, oh my God, I didn't even know an RV could look like that.
Yeah. I follow
It's
like
so
many
cool. You totally should. That's so fun. I love
It's
that.
very Sagittarius in me.
The very Pisces, like two-sided, like I want this, no, I want that, is like I want LA, but I also want like small town living in a bunk, a house, like all this stuff, like a little cottage, like all this stuff. But I'm like, I just gotta, because I'm a very, very New Jersey person, very New York minded person, like fast pace. Let's get things done, like move, like walking quickly even.
Don't go to Washington.
Yeah, not here.
Yeah, probably not.
No offense, it was like a culture shock. It was so slow.
That's so funny. And that's like exactly like LA, obviously, like the California slowed down version is going to be nice, but at least I'll be in like a city area.
Yeah.
Like I still get that feel, but oh my God, we went away a week before quarantine to Disney for my birthday. Yeah. And I mean, I've been to Florida, but like, my God, the people in our hotel room, we were like, hey, can we, and they couldn't even understand what we were saying. We were talking so quickly. And they were like, can you repeat that? We're like, oh my God, okay. And then I think we asked for they only gave us one room key, but we needed two. We figured, okay, I'll have one and Keith or Tanner will have one. And it took them like 15 minutes to get it out of the sleeve and to register it. I was like, oh my God, let's move faster. It's like, we don't have all day.
Did you get wasted at Disney?
Not really like totally schwacked, but there was one time in Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars world, where I had like a couple of those drinks at the cantina, and I was like, woo! Like I was like chewy, like going around like oh my God, how's it going? And like blurred vision, like just felt totally wonky. But then I ate, so that was okay. And then in Epcot, a little bit too, because we did do the drinking around the world, but we had a halt between countries. We went back to back to the Hollywood Studios park to go on a Star Wars ride that you had to like sign up for. You had to like queue for it. But yeah, I was a little schwiggity schwacked in Epcot.
Wow.
We are living it up. This is what 21 looks like.
Wait till you get 22. You're gonna feel so old.
Oh my god, I know.
It was the
Happy
first
belated, by the way.
It was the first birthday where I was like,
yeah. And it's not even like, I mean, yeah, it's the Taylor Swift year, if you want to say. Like, there's nothing to celebrate at 22.
No, but
you actually won't, we won't have anything to celebrate. I mean, we'll have our, like, 25th birthday, I guess, is like a way to celebrate. But, like, we won't have another celebration until we reach, like,
30. It just, like, I remember being, like, I you know, I don't care about my birthday, but I was, like, because you get there's a point where you get excited about being older and then you don't, and now I'm
that switch.
Yeah. That's like the switching point, at least for me. But
I have reached that point where I'm like, how old am I? How old are you? Where am I? Like getting to that point of like asking like, what is my age? Keith and I we had a conversation last night. We were laughing about it. We're both like big fans of even numbers, so like count, like we're not good at math at all. Him and I are terrible at math, so we were just laughing about like, oh, adding up even numbers is so much easier than odd numbers, which is the most first world problem there is, which is why we were laughing about it. But we were trying to figure out how old Keith was, and we were like, okay, if I'm 21 and you're 7 years older, it was like, you know that gif or gif where the woman is just sitting there like this and all the numbers go past her.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. And I was like, oh my God, I don't want this. And I'm like, how old am I turning? How old am I going to be when I'm in this year? It was like ridiculous. And we were trying to figure out too, my aunt and uncle just had another little baby. And we were like, oh, when we're this age, Rosie is going to be this age and blah, blah. And we were like, why are we doing this to ourselves? Like, we're really aging ourselves. But yeah, it's crazy. I'm not looking forward to 22. I'm not really big on my birthday either. It was like Disney was the most exciting part of my birthday.
Yeah, I know.
Like, it wasn't even like, oh, I'm turning 21. It was like, oh my God, I'm Disney.
Yeah, because you were talking about that forever too.
Yeah, we've been planning it for a really long time. And to actually make it happen in perfect timing. Because at that point it was like, oh, what's COVID? And then we got home and it was like, oh my God.
It was like right before. Because your birthday's in March.
Yeah, literally, it was, so Keith actually had come to Orlando incredibly sick. He was in, he hosted a conference that everybody got sick at with COVID. Wow. So he came to Orlando really sick. And we were like, oh, it's just COVID. Like, you have COVID, like all this stuff. But it wasn't until we stayed there from Wednesday to Sunday. And Monday, Keith got tested. It came back negative. But at that point, the tests were x-rays. So he got his chest x-rayed. And they said, oh, you don't have COVID. And like there was no nasal swab yet. There was no antibodies testing, all that stuff. So he 10,000% had COVID. Oh, like we really believe it, the way he was sick and how sick he was. And it was just so terrible. But we got home Sunday. Monday, he got tested. He was in the hospital for like 6 hours.
Damn.
In a quarantine room, like people were coming in hazmats and stuff like that. I took off of work that day. And then Tuesday, Monmouth said, oh, we're not going to do school this week. We're not going to school. The week after was spring break. So right. I had 3 weeks off of school.
Yeah,
I was like, I had 3 weeks off of school, but it wasn't until that Wednesday. So I guess we started quarantining early because of Keith. Right. So the actual like state lockdown quarantine wasn't until like later that week or the week after. So we had just got home in time.
Yeah, totally.
And experienced that whole thing in time. So yeah, I don't know how we got there. I don't know how I got there, but
hey, at least you did it.
I know, it's crazy. My parents were like, it would have been like, especially my dad, he was like, it would have been hilarious if you took 2 years out of your time to plan this trip and saved up all this money and couldn't go. I was like, I would have just
Thanks, Dad.
buried a hole in the backyard with a little wine cooler back there and just not talk to anyone. Like I would have just been like, no, I'm okay. But yeah, we did get to go. Something in the universe was like, these people need to go. Look how sleepy.
Look at him.
He's so cute. Such a sleepy kid.
Did you know that, Danielle, that Dana named Loki?
I remember you talking about your friends naming him, but I don't remember who specifically.
Yeah, I did the first name, and then it's like Hamlet after. It's like
Hamlet, Prince of Denmark.
Yeah.
Loki, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark.
He's so sweet.
Okay, well, anyways, sorry. We went on a lovely tangent. If people want to follow you, where can they find you?
Instagram. I changed my name after like 8 years on, so I have to double check my Instagram name. It's _ Dana Caterina _ on Instagram. Don't really go on Twitter much, so you don't really have to follow me there. LinkedIn, if you want to hire me, get me there. That's been my new obsession. My adult obsession has been like going on LinkedIn the way I go on Instagram. It's kind of strange, but that's really it. Instagram is like my go-to place. You can find me there. I just repost stories, nerdy shit. That's really all I do.
For those that didn't hear, what's the name of your book? So they could go find it on Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Yeah, it's Life's Sinister Spells and Other Magic. And you should be able to find it under Dana Caterina. If not, Sky Row.
We'll link it.
Yeah, we'll link it.
We'll link it for you.
Sweet, thanks. Where can I find you guys?
Where can you find me? At home. What's my Instagram? I think my Instagram is just Kim Minetti. So KMMONETTI, all undercase.
Actually.
Undercase, yeah. That's it. That's all I have.
And where can I find the podcast?
The podcast, well,
by the time this comes out.
Yeah. It'll be, you can follow us on Instagram on Mad Sister Studios. It'll be on SoundCloud under Mad Sister Studios.
And Spotify.
YouTube, Spotify will be all Mad Sister Studios.
Amazing. How exciting for you guys. I'm so happy you guys are doing this. It's so fun.
It's the only thing I'm good at, talking shit. So.
Well, we always said that you would be the next like Wendy Williams.
That is true.
We have always said that. We always said that you would be up there talking about things and giving people advice and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
very true.
Here you are. Talking about stuff.
Talking shit. Next, we'll have Dana on next time to just shoot the shit, yeah?
Yeah, word.
You guys, Danielle, so you can edit this out, but Danielle, I've been watching The Witcher, right?
What does that mean in quotes? Like doing 20 other things but having it on in the background?
Yeah. Because
how can you not watch Henry freaking... How can you not like want to just sit there and be like, wow.
Okay. Geralt, his eyes freak me the fuck out. I'm not gonna lie. I love him. Like he's our bae. Like right here.
He's fantastic.
It's my like workout show.
Okay.
Because I've been
I get that.
So it's on in the background because I've been working out at home, but I have music on. But I was telling Dee, I was like, yo, how come every time I'm working out, it's the part where they're like having sex?
Yeah, like Jennifer, like, oh my god, look at me, I'm so cute. And then it's like boom, next scene.
So uncomfortable. And it happens like with any show. Vampire Diaries. Mm-hmm. I was watching Narcos and the same thing happened. And I'm literally just like, I curl up into a ball. I get so uncomfortable. So I'm watching it.
Well, that's been happening to me with Game of Thrones. My parents will perfectly, and that show has a lot of sex, a lot of nudity, a lot
bad when it comes to that.
A lot of language happening, and every single time somebody comes downstairs and like goes in the closet and like they're having a time on the TV, But my volume control just stopped working. So now I have to like parkour myself to the sound bar, like whip myself off of the couch over the table, like like to lower that. Oh my god, it's a time.
So I've been watching.
I get it.
But I say
it's such a good show.
I'll watch it eventually, okay?
when the next season comes out in like 10 years, because Mr. Henry tore his meniscus or something.
I saw that his leg, right? Or some shit.
Yeah. But they can't. It was funny. He posted the other day. He was like, "Oh well, it's good timing because I tore my meniscus or whatever he tore."
Like, I'll talk about it later. I'm like,
yeah, and he was like, "Oh well, they canceled shooting because of COVID anyway, so I guess I have more time to recover." I was like, "We love an optimistic attitude." We're like, okay.
Sorry, I'm eating food. You gotta cut this out because I'm eating, dude.
I get that.
I'm sorry. I haven't eaten anything all day.
That's not good.
I'll do it. It'll happen.
It'll happen eventually. It'll happen.
All right.
Oh my god.
I forgot.
Kim, you gonna close us out?
Let me close this out. Thank you, Dana, for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We very, 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 very much appreciate it. And yeah,
happy to do it.
We'll see and hear everybody else next time.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Woo! Yay!